This lesson's on 6.5, percents of increase and decrease. There are two equations that you'll need to write down. One is the percent of increase. Percent of increase is new amount minus the original amount divided by the original amount. Now, when you work this out on the division after you simplify it, you still have to convert that into a percent. And then as far as the increase goes, anything that is over 100%, that is considered increase. So keep that in mind. On the second one, for the percent of decrease, the equation for that is original amount minus the new amount, all divided by the original amount. And usually you put the original amount there because if you don't, you'll have a negative number because we're decreasing. Now, if you don't mind about that, just remember then just to keep it as a positive number instead. Example 1, the table shows the numbers of hours you spent online last weekend. What is the percent of change in your online time from Saturday to Sunday? So as we can see in the table, the days, Saturday, we were online for 2 hours, and then on Sunday, you were online for 4.5 hours. To find the number of increase, now we would say this is an increase because on Sunday there were more hours than Saturday. So that's why there's an increase. Now if Sunday was less than Saturday, then that would be a percent of decrease that you would look for. For the percent of increase, we're taking the new amount, which is the Sunday amount, and we're putting in 4.5 minus, and then the original amount, which is the Saturday amount, which is 2 divided by, and the original amount is 2. So if we simplify that, 4.5 minus 2 should give us 2.5 all over 2. And now we have this fraction which we need to divide out. So let's go ahead and divide it. And so 2.5 is inside and 2 is on the outside. So 2 goes into 2 one time. And because there's a decimal here, we're going to introduce the decimal right there. Anytime the top decimal is introduced, we can put in zeros inside the dividend. And that's okay after that. So 2 goes into 5 2 times, and that should give us 4. And so that's 1. So once I get here, I can put in zeros and bring down the 0 to continue on with this problem. So 2 goes into 10 5 times, and it goes in evenly. So we're done with this problem. And again, this decimal right here, this is 1.25 as a decimal, and we need to get to percent. So we need to move that to 2 decimal places over, and that should give us 125% of increase. So that is the increase of number of hours that we were online. Example 2, the bar graph shows a softball player's home run totals. What was the percent of change from 2012 to 2013? If you look at the home runs that is given the bar graph, we're only looking at 2012 and 2013. So we're just considering just the bottom part right here. In our 2012, that's the original, so that's going to give us the 28 minus, and then 2013 is 20, so we had decrease in the number. And then down here on the bottom, this is the original, which is 28. So if we simplify that, 28 minus 20 gives us 8 over 28. And then again, we're going to have to divide it out to find out what our number comes out to be. So 8 inside, 28 on the outside. 28 cannot go into 8, so we have a 0. We introduce the decimal point, so now we have is a 0 inside. 28 goes into 80 2 times, so that should give us 16. 4 plus 1 is 5. We subtract that, we're going to get 24. And now we can have another 0, bring it down. 240 is what we're working with. So 28 goes into 240 about 8 times. Let's try that out. So 8. So 8 times 8 is 64. And then 8 times 2 is 16. Plus the 6 will give us the 22. And then we have 16. So we'll bring another 0 down because 28 cannot go into 16. but we can try the 160. So 28 goes into 160 about 5 times, and that should give us 140, and that will give us 20. So now 28, we bring down a 0. 28 goes into 200 about 7 times, so that should give us 196. And we have a remainder. Now, when we do these long divisions, you may ask yourself, like, how many decimal places we have to go. So go about 4 decimal places. We'll use up to 3, but the 4th one will help us to know if we're rounding our decimal places. So once we get to that 7, then we can stop right there, and our number is 0.2857. And again, this is decimal. We want to change it to percent. We're going to go from D to P, and so we need to move our decimal places 2 places. So that should give us 28 point, and then we can decide now, is 5 going to be rounded up or keep the same, and the 7 helps us realize that 5 needs to be rounded up. That gives us 28.6% of decrease. Example 3, you estimate that the length of your classroom is 16 feet. The actual length is 21 feet. Find the percent error. So we're finding out is what is the error for this. Percent error is very similar to the previous equation. So we're saying the amount of error, which then will be the 21 minus the 16 to find out the amount of error, and then the actual amount. So the actual amount of our classroom is 21 feet. So we're going to put down 21. 21 minus 16 gives us 5. And so 5 over 21. Now we're going to find our decimal place. So then we go 5 inside, 21 on the outside. 21 cannot go into 5, so we introduce the decimal place right there. And now we can have a 0. 21 goes into 50 2 times. That gives us 42. Subtract that, 8. And now we have another 0 we can bring down because 21 cannot go into 8, but it can go into 80 about 3 times. So that should give us 3, 6. And we have a 7 and a 1. And then again, 21 cannot go into 17, so we're going to bring down a 0. 21 goes into 170 about 8 times. So that's 8 and 16. And that gives us a 2. 21 cannot go into 2, so we bring down a 0. And 21 cannot go into 20, so we have a 0. And that's going to be our 4th number, so we can stop right there. And so then from there, our decimal place would be 0.2380. And again, this is our decimal, and we want to change it into percent. So that gives us 23.8% of error in this case. Example 4, find the new amount. So we have is 8 meters, and it is increased by 25%. So we're trying to find out is what is that new amount. So let's take our 8 meters, and we're going to increase it by 25%. So we need to multiply that by 25%. So I'm going to convert that to a decimal right there. And let's put in parentheses right there. So 8 times 0.25. So I'm going to use area modeling to figure that out. So we have is 25. We're going to convert it to 20 and a 5. And we have an 8. So 8 times 2 gives us 16 because there's a 0 on the 20. We're going to put the 0 there. 8 times 5 is 40. And we add 160 plus 40 gives us 200. And then we don't forget to move your decimal places because of the 25. We have this 1 and 2 places over. So from the back we move 1, 2 places over. So that equals to 2. So that means 2 meters is the increase that we had. So the new number, we'll have to take the 8 meters plus the new 2 meters of increase, giving us the new amount is the 10 meters is our final answer. So if it says increase, that's why we're adding that right there. If it had decrease, then you would subtract it instead.